Welcome to the virtual lunch. Today is Friday, July 22nd, and this is virtual lunch number 602. Our guest today is Andrew Shapiro-Zysk, the Senior Manager for Reporting and Data Analytics at Berry, Appleman, and Leiden. And this is part of our series on data science and the business of law with origami. Hi, Andy. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Thanks
for having me.
I'm looking forward to this conversation and really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. So I wanted to share with everyone this wonderful full circle moment. So Andy and I met 10 years ago when I spoke at an event for TiMetrics. And now he's in this wonderfully cool data analytics role. We have this awesome theme, data science and the business of law, and it's just sort of come together. And we have always been Amram on here. This is going to be an awesome conversation. So Andy, tell us about your background.
My background is after my undergrad degree, I went to work for a small boutique immigration law firm in Buffalo, New York, near where I grew up. And then I proceeded to then go to law school, got admitted to the bar in Massachusetts. And then that was in 2008, around when the market crashed. And so finding a job right out of law school, being in a state where I didn't grow up or know anybody, was a little tough in 2008. And so I started working as a paralegal at CVS Caremark, which I think is now CVS Health. And I sort of fell into a job there where I was in charge of online matter management and e-billing. When I met Ari is when I was first starting that journey, learning about how to manage your data using a tool like TiMetrics at the time. Fast forward, I stayed at CVS for a number of years, 6 years doing that, moved on to a large immigration law firm and was in charge of reporting data analytics for that firm for 4.5 years.
When you think about both of your teams that you're building and will build in the future, do you encourage folks to come who are from homegrown from within the legal industry, or do you prefer hires that are outside of the industry? And I think in particularly with regards to doing predictive analytics and implementing AI and kind of advanced techniques, where do you look for to bring in your talent, or do you really prefer people that are just legal domain experts?
Great question, Paul. I mean, if I had my druthers, I would love to pull in somebody who had the legal background as well as the data analytics background. The problem is they don't exist that much. When I left CVS and first applied to my first job at a law firm, not to toot my own horn, but I felt like I was a bit of a unicorn because they're like, hey, wait a minute, you have a law degree plus you've done data analytics for 6 years, you're hired. The only time I've ever had a problem is when I had one person a couple of years ago who came in from like a software type company, and the law firm life was not for her. Things move a little slower sometimes at a software firm, right? She wanted more to be just on the back end, just doing the coding and, clock in, clock out, do my coding, and I'm done. And I was like, well, it's not how we do it on my team. You got to be working, have relationships, be talking to partners, dealing with type A personalities. But pretty much everybody else on the team, I love my team. They're awesome. But yeah, so that's it's worked out. Yeah, but in general, though, I mean, some of the people on my team I've had for as long as I've been there, 4 years, 4.5 years. I think that the important thing that I have found, because most of the people on my team are probably in their 20s, early 30s. I think the key to retaining that talent, in addition to having just a great law firm culture, and the proper benefits and pay and all that good stuff, is to keep them challenged, because they're hungry to keep learning. Right. And so that's like my biggest concern all the time is am I keeping them challenged? Are they getting bored? Because if they get bored, they're going to go looking for something else to do. We've been doing a lot. When I first joined, it was pretty much just a basic SQL Server shop. And since I've been there now, we're doing tons with Python and automation. We currently have about 400 reports we send out on a monthly basis that are all sent out via Python automation. When I first joined 4 years ago, they had 2 people whose full-time job was to send reports. And I was like, this is crazy. How much man hours are we wasting here, right? And so we've automated all of that. We're now, like I said, moving from a SQL Server warehouse to a data lake with Databricks. And so my team is all now learning how to code in PySpark and how to use Databricks. And so I think they love that they're building up their resume, they're building up their skill set, they're being challenged. So I think to keep having things for them to do, but because if they're just sitting there at their desk all day, every day, doing the same thing, writing SQL queries, they're going to find something else. Yeah, I'm a little cautious about giving a solid answer on that, only because I've been out of the corporate legal sphere for, as long as I've been. But if I was to, compare the two based on when I was there, I would say that the corporate legal department, at least 8 years ago, 10 years ago, was much more focused on, it was sort of a new thing. And it was sort of like, we're more focused just on, sort of old school, a lot more paper based with the attorneys. And reporting came more in the space, like I said, of managing outside counsel, things like that. Whereas at law firms I've been at, and especially at BAL, has been forefront, especially in the last 5 years, I'd say, where, they're trying to reduce overhead, they're trying to be more efficient, trying to be more productive, trying to be more lean. And I think they realize that the analytics is the way to get there, especially through automation. It's a huge goal of our firm. One of our big top 5-year goals is to automate, especially when you're in our field of law, which is administrative law. A lot of these processes we do around filling out of forms for the government, submitting things to the government, it can be automated, right? And so that's allowing us to be able to be more competitive on pricing because we're reducing our overhead. It also allows us to free up our paralegals to do more intensive customer client hands-on work and less time filling out forms. They can be more responsive on emails, on questions, on phone calls, because we're freeing them up from doing the manual labor. And the chat was about data entry and how do you ensure proper data entry? And I think I can't remember who asked that question, but that's been also one of my biggest things since day one, since I've gotten this field is, I'm sure you've all heard the adage, garbage in, garbage out. And so it's all about I think as it's sort of what's the word I'm looking for? It basically self-feeds itself, right? So like if you can start to show people in your firm or your business the value of data analytics and show them what data analytics can do for them, when it comes time for them to get excited about it, they get excited about it, they want more, and then they ask you for something and you're like, well, I would love to do that for you, but we don't have the data, right? People aren't being consistent with the data entry. Then lights a fire under leadership and managers to be like, hey, I'm not getting what I need out of the reporting because people aren't using the system properly. You're not putting data in where it's supposed to be. You're not doing it timely. You're not doing it accurately. And so that's, I think, again, it's showing value sort of then results in buy-in, and that buy-in results in better data entry. And one of the other things that I've always stressed is data auditing. So we have at BAL, my team has built for a lot of the legal teams and some of our more client relation teams that oversee the paralegals and the other accounts. We have a lot of dashboards that are audit dashboards where they can go in and see for our particular type of law, right in a big tile in a dashboard that says missing expiration date, missing linked renewal document to an expiring status document, missing this. And then they can click it and get the data and see who's supposed to be filling it in, who didn't fill it in, right? And so that allows them on a weekly, monthly, daily basis to jump in that dashboard real quick and see that's true, especially with when you're talking about big data and machine learning. I think that's definitely true, Oz, in terms of the data doesn't have to be perfect, right? You can still get meaning and find patterns and do all of that good stuff. But when it comes to other types of reporting where it's client specific and it's about their employees or about their cases, it's got to be accurate, right? You can't have any holes in that. But from a big data perspective, certainly doesn't have to be perfect by any means.
Andrew Shapiro-Zysk, everybody. Thank you so much. And thanks to our surprise guest, Oz Ben Amram.
Yes.
This has been a great conversation. Thanks, of course, to Origami for supporting this series on data science and the business of law. Just one of my favorites. I thank you both, and thank everyone for joining.
Thank you so much.
And I hope you all have a great weekend.